Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of VR month on reserve seating. We are going to be talking about Ender's Game, which is an adaptation of the controversial author Orson Scott Card's novel from what year was it?
85.
85. Okay. And this is directed by Gavin Hood of Sotsy and Rendition and X-Men Origins, Wolverine. So my first question for you, Rob, Ender's Game, would this be considered a Tales from the Hood?
At what point this week did you come up with that? How long have you been sitting on it?
Like a few hours.
Oh, all right.
It was today.
Yeah, this one was my pick for VR month because I was paging through this earlier today. My friends and I were obsessed with the book when we were kids. I don't know. I'd have to look around because I'm ashamed to say I've given away so many books over the years. I've gotten rid of books and stuff over the years. This might be one of the books that I currently have that I've owned the longest. I've had this since like third or fourth grade, this particular copy of it. So, Ender's Game is a book that I have not read in years, but that always was very canonical for me. And, I'm thinking of like Animorphs and like all the other sort of kid sort of sci-fi kind of stuff that would come up. And I remember when the movie finally came out because it was one of those things that had been in development hell for the longest time. I don't know how you feel about this movie. We were texting back and forth about it, and this is just it ends up being one of those books that either is just largely unfilmable or this just wasn't the right approach that they ended up going with because I did not enjoy the movie at all.
So, so this wasn't your first time seeing the movie?
No, it wasn't my first time seeing the movie. It's my first time seeing it since it came out.
Yeah, same here. I had a question for you. Like, so tonally, compared to the book, what do you think got lost in translation in the adaptation in the movie?
And again, it's been years since I've read the book, but I did do a kind of a quick thumb through it, a quick skim through it, try to remember. I remember the character of Ender in the book being a lot more complicated and a lot more like sociopathic. Like I remember the whole thing in the end. I guess not to spoil things right away, but um, there's a turn in the end that Ender takes in the book that's motivated by anger, and in
Mm,
in the movie they sort of flip it so that it's motivated by like he's just a good kid and he wants to do the right thing,
yeah.
which to me completely changes the whole context of the end of the movie and what happens and it felt like it was a it just wasn't an adaptation that was interested in really telling the story as much as it seemed to be just one that was one of those like let's hit the major beats. um, and I'm wondering if we would have been better served today in the age of streaming with a TV series, which is the thing I always hesitate to say because usually there's not enough story to justify a whole TV series.
Mhm.
But I'm curious about what they might have done with this material and what they still might with another adaptation.
Yeah, it's interesting that you should say that because really recently I read something where it was talking about how in a novel, readers are much more like willing to give themselves over and identify with a problematic protagonist.
100%.
Where it's like in a movie, by and large, for mainstream movies, of course there's exceptions. You need a protagonist of some sort to root for. So I think like the softening of him at the end makes sense from a movie standpoint. And then also, this came out at the time with like the YA boom of films
Yeah.
in the early 2010s. And
100.
you could totally tell where they're just like, we can't go into movie two with people hating Ender.
The Summit Entertainment approach,
Yeah,
like
I gotta say, Summit Entertainment, they can make this wasn't this expensive, but they could make a $200 million movie look like a $20 million movie, like nobody's business.
this movie looks like hot dog shit.
Like, how do you make something this cheap looking for that budget?
And not only does it look like shit, but everybody in this movie looks miserable. Everybody in this, I texted you, I was like, Harrison Ford looks like he's being held at gunpoint in this movie. I mean,
Yeah,
we've seen Harrison bored before, but this is like
yeah,
this is bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I reread I back when I was writing reviews in the early days of my tenure at this movie. This was one of the ones that I wrote a review of. I was shocked to read it after I saw the movie this time because I liked it a lot more then than I do now. And I at the time said that I thought that the casting choice of Harrison Ford was kind of savvy because we unless you if you don't know how the story is going to progress, then you think that at worst Harrison Ford is going to be kind of a rogue
Right.
or like grumpy mentor. And I think the thing that the movie, and I don't know about the book, but like the thing that the movie has most going for it is the climax that pulls the rug out from under you. Like if you don't know that, then I think that's a really interesting development,
Mhm.
but it's almost immediately neutered by his choice to right the wrong that he committed.
Right.
But that wrong is so catastrophic that I don't understand why the alien species that he did this to would have any trust in him, let alone any sympathy for this situation to occur. It's like YA Starship Troopers, basically, like
Exactly.
where we realize who we thought were the protagonists the whole time are the evil empire.
Well, the book is so much more into the military propaganda of it, the sort of
Yeah.
the control of information, his relationship with his brother and his sister is so much different. And I just think this is one of those situations where it was just the wrong material with the wrong filmmaker, the wrong cast, the wrong studio. Like it's just the worst possible mix of things. And it looks like, from what I read, that the rights, or the sort of the process of adapting it and who was going to get it, who was going to do it, and what directors it was passing through, and who was writing the screenplay. It feels like it's one of those projects that just got like shredded apart until what was left was just kind of a nothing. Like Harrison Ford feels like he signed on to the movie like 6 drafts ago, and then
Mm.
by the time they got to it, it was like, what are we doing? And like, what is Ben Kingsley doing here? And like, where is the soul in this? And there was just, to me, that movie is just soulless. Like, and I don't think it's necessarily little Hugo's fault. I just think it's a bad atonal mix of energies.
Like the movie's just flattened out. Nobody can really pop from it because you have like a litany of charismatic actors in it.
Sure.
We mentioned Harrison Ford, but Viola Davis barely registers. Ben Kingsley seems kind of, an
Well,
afterthought. Haley
everybody
Steinfeld is
everybody in
just,
this movie seems
yeah.
angry at me for watching the movie. Like everybody's yelling. Everybody's yelling at Ender. Everybody's yelling at me. Everybody's concerned. No one is having a good time.
We chose this for VR month.
Yeah.
So I think that the movie, while not necessarily VR in the same sense of virtuosity or, to tease next week's episode, The Lawnmower Man, with special guest Mike Camaro. The thing that I found interesting with Ender's Game is it's almost like a criticism, maybe, of video game culture and sort of like kids just kind of mindlessly following a mission.
Yeah.
Um,
In a
and
way.
not thinking about any type of consequence in it. And of course, in a video game, like it's not
Right.
real, but like in this case, they're manipulated by adults into thinking that it's training, that
Right.
it's a demo, that's practice. And
We're
it's
sort of
totally evil.
talking around the big twist of Ender's Game, and I do think it's worth not spoiling for people if they haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing
Yeah.
giving the movie any juice, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like it was an interesting rewatch. I wish I still liked it as much as I did back then. I do have a fun autobiographical story about the book.
Okay.
So this was around the time of 2004.
Mhm.
My ex-girlfriend and I were fighting a lot.
Wait, you
Um,
and your ex-girlfriend were fighting?
yeah, it happens. Yeah, especially this one. I was I knew that we were on life support, so to speak. And I was grasping at straws looking for anything to connect with her with, and she was reading Ender's Game. So I, without telling her, started reading Ender's Game. And then I got maybe like 3 chapters in, and I asked her about this, that, or the other. And she got so offended that I was like doing what she was doing. So it like completely backfired. That's when you know there's like no turning
Yeah,
back.
as you know,
It's
that's when you
just
know the enemy's gate is down. You're
yeah, it was a weird time because I remember there was like a joke in Shrek 2, and I was like, that was a funny joke, and she's just like, that wasn't funny at all. And I was just like, wow, who is this pod person? So yeah, AMC had some exciting news today that I think applies to reserved seating.
okay. Are we pivoting? Should we change the name of the show to what is it like? Discount.
Premium Sightline or something like that. I don't remember. I really liked Premium Vision, which is if you pay $2 more, they'll turn the lights off.
Keep going. Keep going.
I like uh, Premium Seating, which is I don't have it. Premium on time, which means that if everybody in the theater pays a $2 upcharge, they'll start the movie on time.
You got one more in you. Come on.
Okay.
There's one more.
I like
I believe in you, bud. Come on, you got one more.
okay. All right, hold on. All right.
This is a run. You got this.
Premium projection, where they will not show a DVD if you pay $5 more.
There it is. You did it. Good job, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, so next week we will be back. Actually, I'll just tee up the next 2 weeks because we are covering 2 movies from the same franchise. Brett Leonard's The Lawnmower Man next week with special guest Mike Pomero. And then Mike will be joining us again for the final week of VR month, The Lawnmower Man 2, Choose Your Own Adventure, because it's either The Lawnmower Man 2 Beyond Cyberspace or The Lawnmower Man 2 Job's War, depending on which you prefer.
Until next time.
These seats are reserved. Bye, everyone.
I like Hannah Steinfeld because she and I have the same eyebrows. It's good. We're friends that way.